Excellent connection. Go live. And I am live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your fun-loving, animated, talking head friend, Callous Mind, back with episode 23 of the Callous Mind Talking Head livecast. And in today's video, I want to discuss this great addition by the Arizona Cardinals, and that is just very, very cool, man. This means a ton to the upcoming season, so it'll be great. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it here. First story up from 10:57 a.m. Mountain Time. It looks like J.J. Watt agrees to 2-year contract with Arizona Cardinals. Ooh, yeah, baby. Tempe, Arizona. Free agent pass rusher J.J. Watt has agreed to a 2-year contract with the Arizona Cardinals. The team announced Monday, which was yesterday. Terms were not disclosed, but a source told ESPN's Adam Schefter the deal is worth $31 million and includes $23 million guaranteed. Before the Cardinals announced the agreement, Watt broke the news by sharing a photo on Twitter. Watt later indicated he and his wife, Callous, were traveling to Arizona on Cardinals owner Michael Bidwell's plane. He tweeted 2 photos, one of himself posing with Bidwell and the other of himself with his wife sitting in Bidwell's plane. Pretty convenient when the owner is also a pilot. Look how big J.J. Watt is. Good Lord. I'm excited to get started, Watt said on the tarmac after the plane landed. Very excited to get started, get to work, get to know the people of Arizona. Watt, 31, was released by the Houston Texans, who granted his request on February 12th, ending his 10-year run with the franchise. 4 days later, Watt's former Texans teammate and current Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins posted on Instagram a photo of himself and Watt, edited to be in a Cardinals uniform, with the caption, "Let's finish what we started." Hopkins reacted to Monday's news by tweeting, "Life is good in Arizona." Watt will reunite with Vance Joseph, the Cardinals defensive coordinator who was the Texans defensive backs coach during Watt's first 3 seasons in Houston. In Arizona, Watt will be paired with fellow pass rusher Chandler Jones, who leads the NFL in sacks since he was drafted in the first round of 2012 with 97. Second during that span is Watt with 95.5. So that ought to be a pretty imposing thing to have Chandler on one end and J.J. Watt on the other. Looks like the Cardinals got their bookends for at least next season, so that is kick-ass. Watt's addition meant minimal changes to the Cardinals' odds for the 2021 season from Caesar Sportsbook by William Hill. Their odds to win the Super Bowl remained 40-1 and to win the NFC remained 20-1. Arizona's odds to win the NFC West moved from 7-1 to 6-1, still the longest odds of the 4 teams in the division. The one thing I can promise you is I'm going to work my ass off every single day to make you proud, Watt said. Very proud to be a part of the Bird Gang and the Red Sea. In 2020, Watt ranked 15th out of 119 qualified pass rushers in pass rush win rate, according to ESPN Stats and Information Research. He finished the season with 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception he returned for a touchdown. He has been plagued with injuries recently, having played 16 games in a season only twice since 2015. After the Texans drafted Watt with the number 11 pick in 2011, he became the face of the franchise, winning 3 NFL Defensive Player of the Year awards from 2012 to 15. Watt is one of 3 players to win that award 3 times, a 5-time Pro Bowl selection and 5-time first-team All-Pro. Watt was by far the most productive pass rusher in Texans history with 101 career sacks. So, that's pretty cool. The next up, I think this story happened like last week, right after the show ended. Yeah. From February 23rd, 2021, Tiger Woods' recovery from lengthy surgery to repair significant injuries to right leg. So, Tiger Woods is recovering from a lengthy surgery to repair what a doctor said Tuesday night were significant orthopedic injuries to his right lower extremity, suffered in a single-car rollover crash hours earlier on a steep roadway in a Los Angeles suburb. As part of a statement on Woods' official Twitter account, Dr. Anish Mahajan of Harbor UCLA Medical Center updated the famed golfer's condition, saying in part that Woods has multiple open fractures to his lower right leg, and he had a rod placed in his tibia and screws and pins inserted in his foot and ankle during an emergency surgery. Comminuted open fractures affecting both the upper and lower portions of the tibia and fibula bones were stabilized by inserting a rod into the tibia, said Mahajan, the chief medical officer and interim CEO at Harbor UCLA. Additional injuries to the bones of the foot and ankle were stabilized with a combination of screws and pins. Trauma to the muscle and soft tissue of the leg required surgical release of the covering of the muscles to relieve pressure due to swelling. Comminuted fracture means that bone is broken into more than two pieces. Open means a break in the skin. Oof, wow. Woods, 45, was awake, responsive, and recovering in his hospital room, according to the statement. The update on his condition came almost 15 hours after Woods needed to be extricated from the heavily damaged SUV following the one-vehicle crash near the border of Rolling Hills Estates and Rancho Palos Verdes, about 30 miles south of downtown Los Angeles. In a news conference earlier Tuesday, Alex Villanueva of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department said Woods was conscious and able to communicate with officials who arrived on the scene at approximately 7:18 a.m. Pacific time in Rancho Palos Verdes. After they received a 911 call from a neighbor near the crash, LA County Fire Department's Fire Chief Daryl Osby said Woods was in a serious but stable condition upon arrival. Authorities said there were no immediate evidence that Woods was impaired. They checked for odor of alcohol and other signs that he was under the influence of a substance, but did not find any. The two-lane road on which the rollover occurred curves through upscale suburbs, and the northbound side that Woods was driving on descends steeply enough that signs warn trucks to use lower gears. The speed limit is 45. According to Villanueva, Woods' vehicle, a midsize SUV 2021 Genesis, appeared to first make contact with the median, then went across the two southbound lanes. It hit a curb, hit trees, and rolled over several times with with the vehicle ultimately settling several hundred feet from the road. There were no skid marks, no evidence of braking, and weather was not a factor per Villanueva. Authorities did not say how fast Woods was driving, and he was wearing a seatbelt. Osby said a pry bar and axe were used to remove the SUV's windshield and pull Woods to safety. Sheriff's Department had said earlier Tuesday that jaws of life were used, but officials later said that was not the case. The airbags deployed and the inside of the car stayed basically intact, and that gave him a cushion to survive the crash, Villanueva said. Deputy Carlos Gonzalez, who first arrived on the scene, said he sometimes catches people topping 80 miles per hour in the 45 mile per hour zone, and that crashes are common there. I will say that it's very fortunate that Mr. Woods was able to come out of this alive, Gonzalez said. And you can see the car there, boy. Brutal. When the deputy arrived, a neighbor told him the driver was still in the vehicle. Gonzalez said he poked his head through a hole in the windshield and saw Woods with the seatbelt on. The deputy asked Woods questions, including what day it was and where he was. Tiger was able to speak to me lucidly, Gonzalez said. Woods appeared incredibly calm, the deputy said, likely because he was in shock. The vehicle of another driver who pulled over to the side of the road to assist Woods shortly after the accident was struck by another car coming over the hill, but there were no injuries. Good Lord. Villanueva said it will take anywhere from days to several weeks to complete the investigation into Woods' crash. Woods was rehabbing from a December 23rd back procedure, was in the area for the Genesis Invitational, a PGA Tour event that he hosts at Riviera Country Club in Pacific Palisades. The tournament is run by his foundation. On Sunday, in an interview with CBS during the final round broadcast, Woods suggested that he had yet to ramp up golf activity following his fifth back procedure and gave no timetable for his return. On Monday, Woods filmed various outtakes of scenes for Discovery-owned Golf TV, a streaming entity he has an endorsement deal with. In a statement, Golf TV said Woods was filming on-course instruction as part of his latest series, and actor David Spade and former NBA star Dwayne Wade posted photos with him on social media from Rolling Hills Country Club. Golf TV and Golf Digest have a collaboration in which Woods is paid to provide content. Woods was set to film more of the series on Tuesday per Golf TV, according to ESPN. Shelley Smith, Los Angeles Chargers quarterback, Justin Herbert, and New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees were to be a part of it. Neither QB could understand why Woods was late for the 8 a.m. meeting, Smith reported. And here's a list of some Tiger Woods injuries here. So that's terrible news. I hate to see that happen to anybody, and really hate to see it happen to Tiger Woods. That guy's been through a lot of stuff, and seems to have some problems with car crashes. Perhaps it might be time for Tiger to get a permanent driver or something. I don't know. Just saying. All right, and the next story that caught my attention is, this kind of surprises me, but when this topic comes up, it always surprises me. From February 22nd, MMA fighter Travis Fulton indicted on child porn charges. Travis Fulton, a record-holding mixed martial arts veteran, is facing federal child pornography charges. Fulton was indicted by a grand jury on Wednesday on 3 counts: sexual exploitation of a child, possession of child pornography, and receipt of child pornography, per the indictment obtained by ESPN. The federal case is being tried in the U.S. District Court of Northern District of Iowa, Cedar Rapids Division. Fulton's indictment was unsealed Friday. He has a detention hearing scheduled for Wednesday. Fulton is facing up to 70 years in prison if convicted, according to Tony Morfitt, a spokesperson for the acting U.S. Attorney of the Northern District of Iowa, Sean R. Berry. Jill Johnston, Fulton's federal public defender, declined comment when reached Monday by ESPN. Per the charging document, Fulton attempted to get a minor under the age of 18 to engage in sexually explicit conduct for the purpose of producing visual depictions of such conduct. With a Canon PowerShot camera in or around November 2020, Fulton also knowingly possessed or attempted to possess visual depictions of a minor engaged in sexually explicit conduct on a flash drive, including a depiction of a minor under 12 years old. In addition, Fulton is being accused of receiving and attempting to receive child pornography via interstate and foreign commerce. Per the charging document, the camera and flash drive were purchased outside the state of Iowa, elevating this to an alleged federal crime. According to the Waterloo Cedar Rapids Courier, Fulton was already awaiting trial on willful injury and domestic assault charges stemming from a September 2019 incident. Fulton, 43, holds the MMA record for career professional fights with 320. He is nicknamed the Iron Man in MMA for his record number of fights going back to 1996. The Iowa native fought twice for the UFC in 1999, going 1-1. Fulton 255, 54, 10, and won no contest. Last fought in April 2019 on an M1 Global card in California. So that is terrible. Somebody would even be in possession of child pornography. Alright, so there was a couple of other ones that I wanted to go over here. One was about Alex Smith, and one is about the former USA Gymnastics coach. All right, bear with me 1 second while I get a drink. All right, so this story was from February 23rd, 2021. Alex Smith says his return put wrench into Washington football team's plans at QB. Washington football team quarterback Alex Smith said his comeback threw a wrench into the team's plans and that he didn't feel wanted by the organization this past summer. Smith, the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year, told GQ magazine that he surprised the organization by being able to play. They didn't see it, didn't want me there, didn't want me to be a part of it, didn't want me to be on the team. The roster didn't give me a chance, Smith told the magazine. Mind you, it was a whole new regime. They came in, I'm like the leftovers, and I'm hurt, and I'm this liability. Heck no, they didn't want me there. At that point, as you can imagine, everything I'd been through, I couldn't have cared less about all that. Whether you like it or not, I'm giving this a go at this point. Smith's words call into question his desire to remain with the organization and how much frustration he still harbors. Washington is open to retaining Smith and building up more of the offense, but the team also is exploring other options at quarterback because of the question of whether Smith can remain healthy for a full season. Smith has a $24.4 million cap hit, and Washington would save $13.8 million if it released him. We're still in a situation where we are looking at all our options, Coach Ron Rivera said earlier this month. Smith has not said for certain that he's going to return, but sources told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler that he wanted to continue playing, and Smith's own words in multiple interviews strongly suggest that's the case. He and Rivera had multiple conversations this month, although neither has said much about them. I got more left, Smith said in the GQ interview. I got more to get there, too. So I really do really want to get in the meat of this off season and see where I'm at and push it. I want to push my body harder. I want to push my leg harder. The harder I push it, it does respond. At some point, I'm obviously going to have to sit down with my wife, have a very real conversation, and do we want to do this? She deserves a ton of input, so we'll see. The team declined to respond to Smith's comments. In training camp, Rivera said that he was going by what doctors told him about Smith's recovery. Also, Washington was entering what it thought was going to be a rebuilding year, and a 35-year-old quarterback in Smith's situation, coming off a broken right tibia and fibula, did not mesh with trying to plan for the future. Rivera inherited a 3-13 team and wanted to see if a second-year quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, could develop into a long-term starter. Washington wanted to place Smith on injured reserve before final cuts, which would have ended his season. That week, Smith and Rivera had a long meeting, and then Smith met the next day with Rivera and offensive coordinator Scott Turner to convince them he should be on the roster. The doubts were widespread, Smith said. There were a very small group of people who thought he could do this. Multiple sources in the organization said after watching his documentary on ESPN that they didn't think a doctor would clear him for contact. Smith opened camp on the physically unable to perform list, although his personal doctors had cleared him to return. One of those doctors, Robin West, serves as Washington's head orthopedist. Slowly, their minds changed. Smith stayed on the PUP list until August 16th, as he was showing coaches that he was no longer injured and simply needed to test himself on the field. Still, there were sources close to him at the time who also wondered if Smith would be able to play or to what level. His injury left him with drop foot, which caused his foot to drag at times. It also required special orthotics in his cleats. Washington gradually had him do more in practices, but did not put him in 11-on-11 full padded workouts until late in training camp after he pressed the coaches to give him a chance. I felt like I still hadn't had my fair shake at that point, Smith told GQ. I wanted to see if I could play quarterback and play football, and I feel like I hadn't been given the opportunity yet to find that out. It's like getting this close to the end of the line of a marathon and they're telling you that you can't finish the race. It's like, fuck that. I'm finishing this thing. At least I'm going to see if I can. So I'm thankful we worked through all that stuff. But no, it wasn't like open arms coming back after 2 years. Smith, the number 3 quarterback for the first 4 games, was elevated to number 2 when Rivera benched Dwayne Haskins. Smith returned to the field after Kyle Allen suffered a concussion against the Los Angeles Rams and was sacked 6 times. Allen suffered a season-ending ankle injury 3 weeks later against the New York Giants, forcing Smith into the starting lineup the next week against the Detroit Lions. Washington went 5-1 in games started by Smith. His stats were modest. He threw 5 touchdowns to 5 interceptions as a starter. It was 6 and 8 respectively overall, but his impact was evident to a young team in need of on-field guidance. Smith was a near unanimous pick for the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year. Smith suffered a bone bruise on December 13th and played only one more game, a division title-clinching win over Philadelphia in the regular season finale. He lobbied hard to play in the wild-card playoff game against Tampa Bay, but Rivera opted for Taylor Heineke, whatever, fearing the Smiths' lack of mobility was the lingering leg issue would result in problems versus the Buccaneers' defense. So, I don't know. I for one, was pretty happy to see Alex Smith come back. I think that he ended up meaning a lot, so it's good that they gave him a chance, and it's a wonderful story for sure. All right, and then next up, this was from February 25th. Ex-USA Gymnastics coach John Geddert kills himself after felony charges including human trafficking, sexual assault. Former USA Olympic gymnastics coach John Geddert died by suicide Thursday, hours after he was charged with 24 crimes stemming from allegations that he physically, emotionally, and sexually abused gymnasts under his care. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel confirmed that Geddert took his own life Thursday afternoon, calling his death a tragic end to a tragic story for everyone involved. Michigan State Police confirmed that Geddert's body was found at an interstate highway rest stop at 3:24 p.m. Eastern Time. Geddert, 63, was scheduled to be arraigned at 2:15 p.m. in Eaton County, Michigan on Thursday. We had no indication that Geddert intended to flee or hurt himself or others. We had been in contact with his attorney and were assured of his cooperation, Nessel spokesperson Kelly Rossman McKinney said. Michigan State officials charged Geddert with 24 felonies, 20 counts of human trafficking and forced labor, 1 count of first-degree sexual assault, 1 count of second-degree sexual assault, racketeering, and lying to a police officer. A lawyer from the Michigan Attorney General's office also said Thursday that Geddert knew disgraced Team USA doctor Larry Nassar was sexually abusing patients at the gym where both men worked and lied to police about it during a 2016 investigation into Nassar. The remainder of the charges against Geddert are all tied to his own behavior with gymnasts he coached at gyms he owned in Michigan. Law enforcement started investigating Geddert in February 2018 in the wake of complaints raised about his abusive coaching style during Nassar's sentencing hearing. Court documents released Thursday allege that, among other things, Geddert in January 2012 digitally penetrated a girl who was between the age of 13 and 16. Geddert previously owned Twisters USA Gymnastics in Diamondale, Michigan, just outside of Lansing, where dozens of women say they were sexually assaulted by Nassar under the guise of medical treatment. Geddert and Nassar worked side by side for more than a quarter century while both rose to the pinnacle of elite gymnastics. Wow. I'm surprised these people don't get their ass whooped, because I figure if that happened to a girl, she would have went home and told her dad, and that dad would have went and laid a whooping on these dudes' asses, but I don't know. I guess, it's a different world, so. Anyway, let me go ahead and check the comments out here. Look like nobody or nobody's commenting if they are still watching anyway. So I want to take the time to thank everybody for spending some time with me today. And I will see you 7 days from now on March 9th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And that'll still be 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, as we are slowly moving toward daylight savings times re-implementing again on March 14th. So stay tuned for that. But until I speak with you next week, please be good to yourselves and each other, and I will talk to you later. God bless and have a great week.